Welcome to the Banter, everybody. Me and Jason are back. We're like just an unstoppable force on this podcast. We just keep getting rolled.
I rigged the dice. I rigged the dice.
Yeah.
I wanted
or the die. Technically, it's a single die. So the die.
I rigged the die.
Maybe we do need.
You're going to die.
We need to say. I would never ask. The guy who gave us this die is the best. I would never ask for a second one, but maybe we need a second one. Just so we can roll them both at the same time.
Right, yeah.
Wait, but he makes it so that the other die only has like his favorite people on it. He's just trying to rig the combinations. Before we get into anything, we change the color of this logo.
Woo!
Oh, that was like
Dang,
from distance
man, that
too.
was-
Yeah,
I found the angle.
Yeah, I was wondering why the vibes were really low for a second. I realized it's because it wasn't green yet.
That's
There we
right.
go.
Yep.
Yeah, it changes the mood. Before we get into the show, we're going to talk a little bit. A little word from our sponsor, from our friends over at Manscaped. It's time for the ultimate face-off. The Beard Bowl is here. As the two best teams square off to see who's the champion of facial fuzz. Who the champion of facial fuzz is. Our friends at Manscaped are prepping everything you need for game day. Manscaped's Beard Hedger Pro Kit is the MVP of facial grooming, offering precision trimming, water-resistant technology, and enough styling options to outplay any opponent. And guess what? You can join the winning team along with 10 million men who already trust Manscaped with our special offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code Banter20 for 20% off plus free shipping. Craft your winning look with Manscaped. Don't let that beard be benched. It deserves the spotlight on the biggest stage. Manscaped's Beard Hedger Pro Kit is the ultimate franchise player to take your grooming game to the end zone. This package has made it easier than ever to craft your signature look with ease, featuring the Beard Hedger cordless trimmer. It packs one guard with 20 different lengths. That's right, no more messy drawers full of guards. It's honestly the best part of that thing. But wait, there's more. The Beard Hedger is water resistant as well. Run it under the sink and shave in the shower for easy cleanups. It's time to move the sticks from your old beard razor. Look and feel ready for the big game every day with Manscaped's beard formulations, including beard balm, beard oil, shampoo, plus conditioner. And lastly, as a bonus, Manscaped has thrown in a beard accessory pack coming with a brush, a comb, and beard scissors for the finishing touches every modern bearded gentleman deserves. The playoff beard has never looked better. Trust Manscaped to get the job done. So get 20% off plus free shipping with our code Banter20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with Manscaped at manscaped.com with our code Banter20. Gear up for the real halftime show where your beard takes center stage.
This is not, we are sponsored, but I will absolutely sing the praises of Manscaped, because every once in a while I will run out of my beard oil or beard conditioner and have to use the other stuff I've been doing, and I can just tell the difference. It's a little more crunchy or not quite as soft, and it doesn't smooth quite as well. So between the conditioner and the oil, and even the shampoo, if I run out of the beard shampoo and have to use something else, I can tell the difference. So
I use all the Manscaped beard products, and I love them. I love them all. One of my friends' wives got him the beard razor for Christmas, and he loves it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Great products. They're definitely like one of our biggest supporters of Foundation, and one of the people that we really like their stuff.
Yeah.
Like very happy anytime we get new Manscaped stuff. I feel like Beard Hedger was like Beard Hedger Pro. That's a big deal. I'm waiting for their latest and greatest.
Beard Hedger Ultra
5.6. Yeah.
I have a story that I would like to tell Jason. I told Trevor already.
Okay.
So
I always like Connor's stories, so I'm ready.
I had a little bit of a mishap at my house the other day, if you call it that. I was building this bookshelf. Just be clear, the story it has a happy ending. I finished the bookshelf. It looks wonderful. It's got books on it. But I'm building this bookshelf, and last week I spent every single second of my free time working on this bookshelf. I was up until midnight some nights in my shed working on this bookshelf. But I also have I can't set down projects. I will keep on working on a project until late in the hours of the night. And if I didn't have a wife texting me telling me to come inside, then I would just be out there all night. So I'm finally done building it, and I'm ready to stain it. So we get this stain from Lowe's that we like. It's Jacobian is the color. A little darker than we wanted, but it'll be all right. And I'm staining it, and I'm kind of in a hurry because we've got to be somewhere. I can't remember where we had to be, but we had to be somewhere at 6:30. Yes, we had to be somewhere at 6:30. And it's 6 o'clock, and I'm out here staining this thing really quick because I want to get the stain on it, and then I had to wipe it off with a towel, and then so that I can finish it the next day. Because my whole goal was to get the bookshelf done and in the house and everything before Gabby's friends came this past weekend. because a lot of her friends were coming to stay with us this past weekend. So she wanted our ugly shelves out of the front room, and she wanted to replace it with my beautiful bookshelf. And so I was rushing to get this thing stained, and I'm holding this can of stain in my hand. It's like a big can of stain. It's like it's not like a test size, but it's also not like a gallon. It's probably a half gallon. Actually, yeah, it's a half gallon. And I'm just like dipping the roller in there and rolling it. And then I get down on one knee and I go to dip the roller in there. And it's like just a little bit too big for my hand to like really confidently hold. And so it pushes it right out of my hand. And this big old bucket of dark stain just slips directly out of my hand and lands face down on the concrete in my driveway. And so I am like, it's one of those moments where you are so freaked out you like can't respond to what's happening, because I'm just watching my driveway get painted black in front of my eyes, and I see it's the whole entire can. I barely used any stain at this point, so it's an entire can just like running down the driveway. So I freak out and I go and I grab the hose and I'm like spraying the driveway with the hose, try to get off as fast as I can, and I'm just in the meantime also spraying the bookshelf, getting it soaking wet. So then I move that over and I'm spraying it more, and yeah, so I couldn't finish staining it that night. And then I had to finish staining it the next day by getting another can. Yeah. And my driveway has a pretty decent sized stain.
I really need to see what that looks like.
It's not black, like it's not like a black stain, but it looks like someone had a really odd shaped oil leak.
Yeah. How big is it?
It's significant.
What's funny is I
get Kevin's chili spilling.
If that's what it felt like, that's really what it felt like.
I scrape it back up.
Yeah,
that definitely is frustrating to hear. But what's funny to me is I'm such a penny pincher sometimes. My biggest frustration was like the money that was wasted on that can of.
Oh yeah,
like the stain is probably what my wife would be more frustrated about. That the driveway had a big stain. I'm like, that thing cost $12. Now I got to go spend $12 or $20
that's
more.
Exactly
so
how
they
I felt
just threw away money by dropping that can. So
and I was just like, I don't know why.
It was full too. You just started.
Yeah, no, I just started. I've barely done any, and I don't know why, but I just was like, Gabby's gonna be so upset that I just painted the whole driveway black, and I was upset about it too. I feel like I grew up with people being really like cagey about their driveways not getting messy, which was tough for me, always coming over to people's house leaking oil all over their driveway. So I was a person that I always parked in the road to everyone's house because I didn't want to leak oil on their driveway.
I just had an old asphalt driveway.
That's nice.
You couldn't have stained it if you
Mine
tried.
is basically asphalt now. But no, my BMW leaks all over my driveway. I don't really care. But then whenever that happened, I had the feeling of like I'm supposed to be upset that I just stained my driveway, and then I had this feeling of my wife's gonna be upset that I just stained her driveway. And then she came out there and she was like, I don't know what happened to her, but she was in a good mood. Maybe she was listening to some worship music or something. But she came out and she was like, hey, are you about ready to go? And it was like past when we were supposed to leave, and I'm out there frantic. I'm basically crying. I'm not crying, but on the inside I was crying because on top of the stress that I was feeling, I was also feeling the stress. I know my wife is in there like anxious because we have to go because we're running late, and I know she's gonna come outside and see that I painted the driveway, and she's gonna be so upset. And she came outside, she was like, what's wrong? Because I was obviously visibly upset, and I was like, I spilled the entire can of stain on the driveway, and I stained the whole driveway, and I don't have enough to finish this. And she was like, oh, well, it's okay, we'll just get another can tomorrow. And then I was like, yeah, you're right, it's fine.
Nothing will put you in a good mood quicker than your wife not being upset about the thing you're upset at.
Absolutely.
Subconsciously, as married men, that is like where our mind goes pretty quickly.
Like, if she's not upset about it, then why am I upset about it?
You realize that that's like a lot of the stress you're feeling is like, I don't want my wife to be upset about this.
Yeah.
And then whenever they're not, you're like, oh, things are great. It's like getting in trouble. It's our instincts. It's like when you'd be waiting for your dad to get home and you knew something you did was bad and like your mom was gonna tell them, and then or either your parents, and then you realize that your parents are just kind of like, oh, it's okay, like they give you a pass, and a lot of times it might just be because they're having a better day, and then just immediately you're like, oh, everything's gonna be fine. Sunshine and rainbows. It's so great. I'll tell you what, lately I've just been doing a lot of woodwork researching, and I've gotten a lot of the bigger tools now, but there's so many small tools I still need. So many just like little things, like little clamps and pool saws and this and that. But But I can't buy any of them right now. I'm in budget mode because I don't remember getting this last time, but everybody knows having babies is expensive.
Yes.
It's just part of the game. I've done this once, and last time I did it, there was a C-section to pay for. So I've done it before, but this time, and I'm sure they sent it last time. I just didn't remember, but they send you like a letter in the mail when you pre-register at the hospital, and they send you a letter like thanks for pre-registering, and they're like attached is a document outlining like what, and this is actually a great service, by the way. It's like this is a document. It's like this is what your bill might look like.
Right.
Like this is just to give you an idea because nobody knows how much having babies costs, right? And so it gives you you get this bill in the back, and the funny thing is the bill they give you is just outlined on it is unmedicated VBAC birth, which is like that is the cheapest way to deliver a baby, and this is not including any of the number of things that they're going to do for your baby in that hospital, or if you order any room service in the hospital. Now, granted, this is the biggest expense is the birth, but like if you get any kind of if you do an epidural, like that's a much like a big expense to go on there. And I saw that and I was like, oh man, it was like $4,800 or something just for the just for that. And what's even crazier too is like, and now it's only so accurate because it's estimating what your insurance will cover based on average insurance. But like before insurance, having a baby, the most basic way you can have a baby, like as if you just walked in that hospital, they delivered it and you walked out, which isn't happening. You'd be without insurance, you would be out like, I mean, I want to say it was like $17,000 or something. That's crazy. I believe it. Yeah, and then like obviously, that's just how medical bills are. They look terrifying, and then insurance hits it, and then they're still terrifying. But they're just, it's like instead of like, oh, we're gonna have to just sell everything we own. It's like we have to sell half the things we own. So I thought that was funny because I didn't remember getting that last time.
It is the bonus about being active duty military is we didn't pay a penny for all 3 births.
Wow.
Well, so that's the trade-off, right? But I also spent
served
accumulation of a number of years away from my family, and I wasn't in dangerous way.
You earned it, yeah.
But
my tax dollars paid your salary, Jason.
Right. Thank you for paying for my kids' birth. So not y'all, but your parents. But but that's the biggest transition we've had to figure out coming here, is because now I don't have full coverage. I have coverage over my disability stuff from the military, but now I'm back into like with everybody else, with the little people, the regular people who have to pay. And like when my youngest son fractured his jaw.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
That bill was crazy. And we're still trying to get our insurance to pay for it. So we still get a monthly bill from the doctor saying, hey, you owe us this money.
You're still trying to
we're trying to file the claim from them.
Such a mess.
But even what we still have to cover was a few $1,000s. And my entire Air Force career, I never paid for anything. We had to pay for, if the kids went off base for dental, we had to pay the copay.
It's always dental, man. It's
always dental. But for 24 years, I didn't pay a penny. I mean, between 3 births, all 3 C-sections, number of medical things. So I got my eyes done. I had laser surgery in my eyes. So when I had
LASIK.
What's that like? I had PRK.
Oh, okay.
PRK. So LASIK is basically where they cut the tip of the eyeball off, or the front of it, and then go in. Yeah. Whereas PRK is where they burn it straight on.
Oh, nice.
And it's fantastic. Because in 2005 I had it done, and so I'm still 20/20 vision. 18, 19 years later.
Wow.
But it's basically you're looking at a red dot and you feel like, I've never thought you could feel pain on your eyeball, but you feel a burning, but then they're also pouring ice cold water in your eye at the same time.
What the heck?
And it was like, but it's only for a few seconds, but it felt like it was for like minutes. And it says basically you have to track the red dot with your eye, and the creepiest things, they clamp your, like, you see the movies where they torture people, they clamp they had to clamp it on.
Sounds awful.
But they numbed that part, but you could still feel the burning of it.
I heard somebody, and tell me if this is true. I was just hearing somebody the other day that on an interview they had LASIK, but eyeball laser situation. Right. They said they couldn't really feel much, but they could smell burning eyeball.
Yeah. You could smell, like you could feel it and smell like, now it wasn't like drastic, but you could smell burning, if that makes sense.
Oh
right?
my gosh, like that's crazy. Our eyeballs are
the funniest thing fragile. Though, because when you stand up,
it's like what happens whenever you don't put a mask on while you're welding.
Yeah.
Then
you get that.
You'll smell toast. Yeah.
But it was great. Like, I'm thankful. Elizabeth is still mad to me this day because when she and I got married, we both wore contacts, and the life of a contact wearer is different.
Yeah.
Doesn't, because she has to do that and deal with everything. And she even kind of jokes she's still bitter that I haven't worn contacts in 19 years. So.
That's funny. That's crazy that you still have like perfect vision after all that time.
Yeah, it's
like,
getting
works.
like I don't have. Well, I had to wear reading glasses now, so maybe it's not quite 20/20, but I can still see anything.
I feel like the reading glasses too are just a lot with eye fatigue. Like you get older and like because like that's how my mom. Actually, I think she wears contacts now, but like her eyes just got fatigued over time. She started with reading glasses and then it turned into more and more. I think my dad needs glasses, but he's needed them since he was like in his 20s and just never wore them. Just didn't like them.
Yeah,
and like he does fine. He's just not great with farsight, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah. Medical bills are crazy.
It's
I'll tell you what though, you might make it. Not to call you old, Jason, but you might make it to Social Security.
I am old, so
You might actually get some.
yeah.
We're not getting any.
You think it's gonna be gone by the time?
Oh, we're not getting. Although I will say that people have been saying that
They've
for
said
like
that for
10 years
yeah.
now. So maybe I just like imagine getting so close. And like if you ever look at your paycheck, man, you get gutted for Social Security. And that is supposed to pay me when I'm old and I can't work. And how are they gonna justify that? How is the U.S. government gonna be like, oh yeah, remember they're gonna give us like a $2,000 stimulus each and be like, here you go because you didn't get Social Security. Like we have been paying towards our future, like investing in it through that system the government implemented ever since we started working a job, and we might not see a dime of it. What are we doing, guys?
Sounds pretty typical.
Yeah.
I know, but it's a crazy thing. And like I bet that's what would happen if we didn't get it is they'd be like, whoever the president is would be like, to make up for it, here's a couple $1,000. Everybody would be all people who don't think deeply enough about it, or maybe people who weren't working long enough to like care will be like, oh sick, I'm gonna buy a new lawnmower. This is awesome. Who cares about Social Security? Meanwhile, if you've been working for like 30 years, you'd be like, I've dumped in $100,000 into Social Security.
Whenever the stimulus checks went out, all my friends were texting our group chat about the new drum kit they were buying and all these new guitar pedals like that.
The stimmies were great.
I was being claimed by my dad though, so I never got a freaking stimulus check.
Well, so the big thing that during the COVID, whenever I got like any of the stimulus stuff, I actually bought an engagement ring with it. Yeah,
wow.
that's what I used it for.
Nice.
And then I think we got like one more whenever I was married. And at that point, we were already paying bills. So it's not fun anymore.
Well, still, it was fun because you could pay some.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was free money.
The last like 2 years, Virginia did a thing where like if you just filed taxes in the state of Virginia and met a couple things, but really just like they were just trying to get people filed, you got just like I think it was like $400. It was like $200 per person in your household.
Wow.
So like my wife and I got $400 for our household, and like it would just pop up in your bank account.
Yeah,
one
that
day.
was nice.
And you're just like, oh, thank you, government. They they do that just enough times.
I made the mistake. I won't ever do it ever again. Look at my pay stub. That is.
Oh, like
because
you see how many taxes
it's
come
been
out
a
of it?
while. It's been a while since I like looked at it, but the other day I was just like in the app and like I pulled it up and looked at it and I was like, and it just ruined my day. I was just upset the rest of the day. I was like, that's not fair.
Taxes are crazy, man.
Yeah.
They are.
And yet
taxation is theft. That's a Ron Swanson.
We pay so much. Yeah, no, he says, first of all, federal income tax is illegal. That's what he says when they come to audit him. Just nothing behind it. Federal income tax is illegal. Oh, man, no, it's crazy. Although the last 2 years, and like the thing about taxes too is, especially when you're younger, you get those tax refunds and you're like, this is awesome. The last 2 years, I've owed on my taxes because however I have my pay set up or whatever, I have everything correctly entered in to like our payment thing, and yet it never withholds enough. Never. So I owe like a significant amount of money in taxes each year the last couple of years.
That sucks.
Only on the federal level. The state level, last year I got like it was like, you're going to owe all this money for federal. I was like, oh, that stinks. And then it was like, well, you're going to get a bunch back for state. I'm like, can we just balance the scales here? Like, what is going on in the tax withholding thing?
Well, that's what's nice as you have dependents to start claiming, because all three of my kids have fallen off the last few years. Well, and we went from getting money back, and then now we're paying for years now. Plus, we had a rental property, And because of the value of the house, we made money off the profit of the house, but we ended up having to pay taxes for it. And then
that sucks.
Yeah.
And so
dependents are another funny thing though too, because like they rock at tax season, but like you spend like $500,000 over 18 years to raise a child. Like it's like you spend like so much money on them, but it does rock. The only thing that stings about having a kid in February when I'm about to is I'm not going to see any of that on this tax return.
Yep.
So I'm not going to get any credit for having it. Because like whenever I had Brooks, it was right at the end of the year.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Just snuck them in there. And so I got like a $3,000 credit. It was that year they were doing that.
Yeah.
So I got like a $3,000 credit, basically paid for a good bit of his birth expenses with that. And then obviously I had a dependent as well.
Yep.
I wish I could have, 2 dependents this year and this and that. And you don't get anything for buying a house anymore. Back when I read back when the recession happened, and as they were coming out of it, I think it was George Bush put in or it was Obama, I think, put in a tax incentive to like anybody who was a new home buyer got like a big tax credit because they were just trying to spark the economy again.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Nothing for owning land doesn't do nothing for you.
Hey, well, you know what? The price for used cars went up a little bit more. We got an email yesterday, so
the price of used cars went up more.
Yeah, like buying used cars because it was crazy like a year ago.
Yeah.
And then lately it sucked because we want to sell Gabby's car and get a new car. And
So you're actually happy it went up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am very happy because we actually got a number that is somewhat decent.
Yeah,
Still
used cars
not
have
really.
been pretty crazy. There was like the few COVID industries I feel like were like obviously houses were crazy. And those are about to go crazy again because the rates are coming down, which means people are going to sell their houses for $1 billion. The houses were crazy. Lumber was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another random one, computer parts. People that were trying to build computers around that time
That's
because
funny.
everybody was at home and wanted to build computers. Like obscene
That's funny.
prices for computers. And then the cars ones they had finally started to come down a little bit.
We sold during that time. We sold 2 cars to Carvana. I think Carvana's not doing well anymore.
They just
but
come pick them up. Right?
Right, they would come pick it up, but they gave it at off the Kelly Blue Book value of selling it
They just
privately.
Whenever
they just
I priced
matched
it out, they
So-
were given a significant bit less.
okay, and they may have changed. I think I saw something they've changed.
They
but
have
like,
a convenience factor that.
oh yeah,
probably,
like we met them outside the base for one, and we met them at a grocery store for the other, and they
That's awesome.
had a check right there for
That's awesome.
as much, and it was better than trading it in or selling it. It's same quote basically Kelly Blue Book would do for selling private, direct to somebody as opposed to.
Yeah, I think it was like $1,500 less.
Yeah,
on
they must not.
Carvana.
I mean, they must be catching. It must be catching up to them as well.
Yeah,
so.
or
They
maybe
have a car elevator
That was like
or
back
car
when they
vending
were
machine.
like first coming. That was back when they were like first starting.
Yeah.
I feel like too. So they might have been like trying to
build
you
up
the
their
best-
inventory.
yeah.
I've seen it. I saw a clip once of the Carvana truck like picking up a car and dropping it like from the second story of its like trailer thing.
Oh my gosh.
Great. Yeah, no, I feel at peace. I'm not in the car rat race because both my cars are worth nothing. So therefore, I think combined worth of my 2 cars is probably maybe $2,000.
That's not true.
A little
Yeah,
bit
no,
more
it's
than that.
no the Pontiac is worth $700 or maybe slightly less. I quoted it, and the Murano is worth under $2,000.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, no, it doesn't suck. It's great because
Well, true.
they're doing their job.
You don't have a car
Sure.
payment.
Yeah, I
so
don't have
there
a
you
car
go.
payment, so it doesn't suck because I never expected to have value out of them.
Yeah.
Whenever one of them dies, whenever I run them into the ground, I'll probably just get another used car. Like that's just the way I'm gonna have to roll. But the Pontiac's got 180,000 on it. The Murano's got 190,000 on it, but they're running.
Gabby's
doing their
car
job.
is a 2018. She bought it with like 13,000 miles on it in 2018, I think. And it just hit 130,000 miles.
That's insane.
So we've driven it a lot.
That's a
Yeah,
lot of
a
driving.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a lot of driving.
Because like
My BMW, has probably like 700,000 miles on it.
yeah, because they say. I mean, I think a lot of
I don't know if it really has 7. Does it really have 700?
This is the math that I've done for it. Okay,
Okay.
the odometer is broken, but it's been up until the past few years. Whenever I've had it parked, it's been a daily driver since it was created. It's been a 3-owner car. First owner bought it in 1987, and the odometer stopped working in the 90s, at 210,000 miles. And so if you look at it that way, as if it was his daily driver, and even if you give it like late 90s, so we'll give it 10 years, it got 200,000 miles on it. And then after that, the other guy, it was also a daily driver for him the entire time he had it, and then it was a daily driver for me the entire time I had it. Then that works to somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's tough to figure. I think on average, I put like 7,000 to 10,000 miles on a car in a year. It depends. Like my car, I only drive to work and back. The Murano's when we travel.
I also drove it back and forth from Liberty a ton.
Yeah. So I don't know. Cars can be old cars, man. They're built to run. My minivan, or my family minivan growing up, that thing almost made it 300,000 miles. You see trucks and vans that make it close to 400,000 miles.
I wish the odometer was working on it. That'd be so satisfying.
I'm surprised. I mean, I know like there's different rules for the vintage cars, but like I'm surprised there's not like odometer is like tampering with an odometer is like a big no.
Yeah.
So like I'm surprised you're allowed to have a broken one.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just surprised. Like I'm surprised it passes inspection.
I think it depends on the age of the car.
I'm sure it does. Yeah, I'm sure it does.
You're right, because if you still got to do the yearly inspection, the challenge is there. I know, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thankfully, my car doesn't have to. Well, in Virginia, it doesn't matter. In North Carolina, it mattered. It doesn't have to pass emissions tests.
Yeah, there's no emissions in the state. It's great.
Yeah, that is nice.
It's amazing. Yeah, Pennsylvania, we had to have it too.
My BMW in North Carolina, my BMW's window tint technically did not pass inspection, but I just had one guy that I would take it to every time, and he would pass it as long as I wouldn't take it to anybody else.
My father-in-law, he used like his like glasses prescription as a way to get a darker tint on his window.
No way.
Like there was some loophole, and so he had a pretty dark tint on his car.
We had to replace tires on two of my kids' vehicles on the last inspection. So it's a crusher. It's a crusher because you can't
I just
pass.
got new tires too. It stinks.
And thankfully the tires weren't. We just go to Larry's for it because it's easy and because both the kids are at college and they weren't too bad. But it still was a chunk of change you weren't ready to spend.
Especially whenever you were in the Air Force and you didn't have to pay a dime for tires.
Exactly. There's tires everywhere.
You just flew everywhere, right? That's how the Air Force works, right?
Yeah, I went in with one flat that I thought could be patched and walked out with all new tires.
I went in with one that I thought could be patched. It was too close to the sidewall, but they replaced just the one tire. And I was kind of upset about it, honestly, because now I just have one. Well, I would rather just replace the one, just to be clear, because I don't want to pay for all new ones, because all other ones they look fine. But I'm just upset that we took it to a Goodyear thinking that they would just patch it, and they had availability that day. But since we took it there, the only tires they had were Goodyears, which did not match the other tires on the car. Yeah. So this tire is like, it looks bigger than the rest of the tires.
It always pulls to the left or pushes to the left now.
So, Jason, talking about the military benefits.
Okay.
Besides, like outside of pay, what were the best things that were either discounted, included, or anything like that were just like perks, the best perks of the military? Because like the healthcare situation, that's pretty high.
Healthcare is the biggest one.
Yeah.
So the biggest one for sure is healthcare, because majority of your healthcare is provided while you're active duty. And then when you retire,
and the second one is Chick-fil-A.
And
you ever get the discount at Chick-fil-A?
Do we get discounted to Chick-fil-A? I don't know.
You're supposed to, but
probably
you have to ask for it.
So that's the other. Here's a local great discount place. The Bagel and I gets 30% for military.
Ooh, that's awesome.
So Bagel and I gets my money a lot because 30% is pretty good.
Do you have an ID that you show them?
My military ID. I have a retiree, so to show that we're still retired, we have an active duty or retiree ID card.
That's
cool. Looks, now the family's retiree because of my dependents. Because technically, two of my dependents two of my kids can still be dependents because they're in college. But after you hit 18, you're not supposed to be a dependent anymore. But since they're both full time in college,
Yep.
Honestly, the other biggest benefit, and this is from a Disney guy, is that the Disney discounts on the military discounts on theme park tickets in general are really good.
That's awesome.
But the ones at Disney were fantastic. So they
like, what do you mean by really good? Give us an example.
Like, so you can still today go to, so at every base we have what's called military bases or Air Force bases, maybe Army, information tickets and tours, and it's where you can go get discounted tickets for stuff.
Oh, cool.
So say like you go get a 4-day hopper pass at Disney for, if you just bought at the gate, it'd be maybe $500, and through ITT, it'd be like $350.
Oh, dang.
Per ticket.
That's awesome.
That's pretty.
It's pretty. So on every base, they have that little office where you can buy discounted stuff.
That's sick.
Yeah,
And there's a bunch of different websites. Like there's a site called Government X, that's GOVX, that supports military and first responders and fire departments and firefighters and stuff, that you validate that you are that, and then you can get really good discounts on like different things.
Yeah.
Oakley has Oakley Special Issue, a website just for first responders and military.
Cool.
Yeah, I was
That
gonna
like
say,
all their stuff, it seems to always be like 30 to 40% off.
Wow.
are there
Yeah.
things that like own like websites and products that only active or former military personnel can buy?
Probably not that I mean those sites you can only go to if you validate via email address or your ID card or something. So the other big bonus one is staying at hotels. So as an active duty, so if you ever go book a Marriott, you can choose the military discount.
Yeah.
And then because the government has pre-negotiated rates with places, it's supposed to be originally it was supposed to be just if you were actually on duty, actual TDY, temporary duty travel, like you're actually going for work, and then it expanded to like as long as you're active duty, this is a perk of being in the military.
Cool.
Is the discounts.
Airlines, you get a good one.
Airlines, we didn't fly. I don't know anymore. So in the early days, it wasn't as much. There was an on base.
You could board earlier though.
Yeah, so often
Yeah.
they had early boarding for those
Yeah.
kinds of things. So, but they in the early days, in our early days of being in the military, you definitely get a discount. But there were so many. This was. You remember, I joined the Air Force pre the internet as we know it is now.
Yeah.
There was no kayak, there was no Priceline, there was none of those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great to go to the booking agent on base to book flights. But now with the internet for flights, I've not seen anything that's like drastically lower. But so many places offer military discounts, and it's always an odd thing. So like I have. Because I don't want to abuse my privilege of getting 10% off. So if I'm at a restaurant I know does military, I will, like if I'm at like Outback or something that does military, I will say hi, military, and then after they give me the receipt, but then I just, whatever the discount is, I just add to the tip. So so I'm still paying the same in a backwards way, right? But all
Get
that
the
money I
to
would
the
have paid
people.
just goes to the tip. Yeah.
That's
So-
cool. That's really cool.
And that's what I've taught the kids all that as well, because with ID cards they get military discounts. Like if you ever do that and it's a place you can tip, just put that money back on the tip as a way to try to help out
That's nice.
That's really cool.
the servers.
I was
That's a
out
cool
back
thing to do.
there,
Jason, I don't know if you've talked about it on the Banter, but what is it that you did like in the Air Force?
I was in information technology, communication. It was called communications, information technology, cyber. So basically,
Cyborg.
for a few years I worked base comms. Basically, helped with the MetNav systems, the stuff that helps planes land is also
Okay.
comm stuff. So, and then I did information assurance, which is basically in the Air Force. What information assurance is, if you want to put a new computer system or software system on the network, it has to be certified and accredited for being secure to go on the network. It's a CNA. It's actually CNA process. Military people know this very well. So we basically reviewed that to make sure it basically they dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's, and that the testing has gone through to make sure if you put this new software system, this new whatever on the network, it was not going to cause any issues with the network.
Here's a question. Within the technology space of the military, is the military contracting or using specific brands, like most generic Windows or Mac?
Yeah. So yeah, it was the Air Force the military was definitely like the rest of the world was a Windows based place. So and then in my last few years there, more people were pushing to get Macs on the network because the key is they had a hard time basically certifying the Mac for its full safety because of the way Apple does it. We all trust Apple products to secure themselves, but when you introduce them to the network, it was a challenge. Not as big deal as it is when I first came in those first few years of the Mac. But also, like for years, we used Blackberries because Blackberry had a very tight security system within it that was government approved, and the iPhone didn't. So for years and years and years, we didn't use iPhones for government stuff.
And is that like, is the government have a deal with BlackBerry, or is it just like this is the one we're going to issue?
No, they had a deal with BlackBerry.
And does it go as deep as like, okay, so like phones, computers, but like, is it go as deep as like, these are the Wi-Fi routers we use, like this, like everything.
So yes, they are big organizations in the Air Force. I'll talk about the Air Force specifically that go through and approve who we can and can't buy from. There's even, oh my gosh, I've been out too long, but there's a process, the GSA process, Government Service Administration, where you can, they have vetted that there's certain ones you can get or certain ones you can't. There's even ones for a little while that we couldn't buy because we knew they were made in China. And you can't.
Is like,
if you don't believe it, you cannot trust anything made in China. This is not a bash against the Chinese people. Let's be clear, but you cannot trust
the military.
Anything that you cannot have full faith and trust that it's secure if it's made or passes through China.
So did everything have to be made in America that's on the U.S.
They
base?
try to, like, the priority is that, but it can't just, we just don't have the technology to do that. So that's the priority. And a lot of those things, that's what we try to do. It's
crazy.
It's basically
crazy thought. It's like,
right.
if you're
I can't imagine how expensive an American-made Wi-Fi router is.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Because we take good
China,
benefits. We take care of our employees.
Yeah.
In other countries, they don't quite take care of them to the standard.
Yes.
But their cost of living is also less, so it's not always as bad as it sounds, but it's pretty bad.
That's an interesting thought to be
Absolutely.
like, all these other companies are manufacturing these things, and it's like, the military has to use those things too.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then I spent 6 years doing special ops staff stuff. So, like, I was never on the ground, but I was the guy, the headquarters element. When I was in Germany, we were supporting folks who were in Africa, and Africa was crazy. And it was, I was still at Africa. So the way the military is organized into geographical combatant commands, meaning there's a headquarters that covers Africa. There's a EUCOM covers Europe. And then there's NORTHCOM that covers North America. SOUTHCOM covers South America. And I was at AFRICOM, and I was there. This was a number of years ago, but you vaguely remember this thing called the Arabic Spring, where we got Gaddafi, crazy things were happening. But I remember I was working mid-shift, and I came in one night and then ended up working like a 24-hour shift because that night they had shot T-LAMs onto Libya. And they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, there's, which are missiles from boats is what a T-LAM is. We're like, okay. And then, like, the next morning, I still hadn't come home. So Elizabeth called my office just to make sure everything was okay because I was still working. And then it was crazy. I think I've told this story in the Banter, but for like 3 weeks straight, which seemed like longer than that, I worked every night for like anywhere from 15 to 18 hours a night because they were basically attacking Libya. And I ended up being the guy who was tasked to create a slide that ended up going eventually to the president. It sounds crazy, but a true story.
Wow.
Like, I had to create a single slide with some other backup slides that went to the AFRICOM commander, our 4-star. He approved it, and then he literally personally sent it to the president, direct email.
Wow.
And so it was, you talk about stress. A guy who's not into that world, who's all of a sudden putting together these slides. I'm contacting folks on boats to get battle damage assessment for how the missiles went, what happened. It was the first time we had Arabic partners actually attacking other Arabic countries. Like Jordan joined us with their F-16s, and it was very interesting. And then, like, literally like a day later, I see a version of my slide on CNN, and it was wild.
Wow.
Like some because you never really know where it begins, and some lowly dude sitting in Stuttgart, Germany, in the middle of the night in this little building with like 30 of us around because they were, and what's tough is they were redoing the ops center. So you see in TVs, ops centers are really nice with all these big computer monitors up on the wall, and that's a true story, true statement. But they were modifying the AFRICOM one, so we were literally in like a big conference room with just a bunch of computers around the table, like this, typing and stuff. So
dang, that's crazy.
Had this early on. I had this 2-star general literally poke me in the chest. He goes, "When are you going to start helping me?" He was stressed at the time. I was like, "Sir, I'm trying." Talk about stress. An Army 2-star who went on to be a 3-star, super great guy, but he was very stressed that night because we were trying to gather info to give to. But these guys are in the middle of operations, right? And we have lowly staff dudes contacting people in operations. Hey, can you give me the update? Yeah, it was stressful.
So that was your role, like, during that time.
So for those 3 weeks, I was
communication.
I was literally just. It had nothing to do with my background.
Okay.
Like, my background as a cyber guy, an IT guy, was nothing to do with that. It was like I was an officer at the time. I was a major. I was like, all right, dude, figure it out. That's the life. I mean, people make fun of officers for a lot of good reasons, but a lot of times, like, you're thrown into crazy high stress situations, and I had another guy who worked the day shift who was fired after 3 days because he couldn't handle it. And he had the easier shift. So because he was gathering stuff during the day to give to me at night for stuff. And he literally was fired after 3 days. They didn't even bring anybody to backfill him. And so I just had to do everything. Sounds like I apologize. I really sounds like I'm tooting my own horn. I'm not trying to.
It doesn't sound like
that. But that 3 weeks was the most chaotic, stressful time. I think I literally went half gray during that time because it was so crazy. But that has nothing to do with my IT background. It was just I was an officer, a spare body who could do some work.
Okay.
And I did okay enough that I didn't get fired. The good thing is it eventually led me to get hired on at SOC Africa, Special Operations Command Africa, which is where I want to start doing soft stuff. and that was fun.
And
That's
so,
really cool.
yeah, you do all that really important stuff in the military, and then you retire, and now you work for a Frisbee company.
Yeah.
So the most stressful thing that happens here must be incredibly not stressful to you.
That's what I'd say that because, I mean, granted, I've lived a lifetime, but like I've never been stressed at this job in my entire
No, I
year
don't
and a half.
think you would
and
be.
There
Yeah.
are stressful, but and let's be clear, the stressful things that have happened on the media side. You know, the site, getting hacked a couple of times.
I say
different
whenever
things.
our YouTube channel gets hacked, you need to be running point.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck, guys? What's happening?
But on the
right now?
retail side, there is no stress.
You got Brody back and forth with me on the phone talking nonsense, man. We need Jason in there.
I have
You
been
need
part of
poking him
many
in the
like
chest.
we. I'll take that poke. So, no, it's those times. It sounds odd, but in hindsight, those high stress situations are a blast if you know what you're doing and you come out successful.
Oh,
on
yeah,
the other side.
certainly.
It's like that is like the adrenaline is so like for 3 weeks. Like I didn't get a rest at night. The adrenaline was so high because there was no break when you're in that room because it's we had one night what was it? An F-16 or F-15 got shot down, and the guy's ejected as a 2-seater. And one guy was picked up in the water, but one guy fell behind enemy lines. And we, no kidding, had like a super special Black Ops guy call us and be like, "Hey, I got your dude."
Wow.
We had a joint, what's it called? A recovery specialist on the team, and literally he's like, "Everybody shut up!" And he's literally talking to a guy who is super deep in undercover, who has our guy with the enemy forces. It was like,
Oh
wow,
my
like that
gosh.
is it has nothing to do with me, right? But it was the cool. Like I was like, wow, that's cool. To literally see him talk.
We are
through-
saving Private Ryan.
We're
right
no
now.
kidding saving the dude because if he's behind enemy lines, it's wild.
There's so many cool people.
So, but when you get through if you get through the successful, those operations are like the greatest, and the adrenaline rush, the excitement. Same way with the hack. Once you got through Tesla Live, I'm sure it was like okay.
I know
good,
that.
but-
I know that. This is not your intention at all behind telling these stories. Obviously, because you're just awesome. That's why you're telling these
But you
stories.
make people want to enlist.
But this just makes my life feel so meaningless.
Huh?
No,
dude.
no.
Honor, dude.
No.
I will say though, if I was listening to this podcast and I was like 17, 16 years old, I'd be like,
Yeah.
I'm signing up.
Yeah, dude.
Jason's-
I wish
he's
I
still
had
getting
noticed-
paid. You know, he's got
Another benefit. I have retirement
He's
and,
gonna-
and disability
And
for
you
years.
enlist,
Of,
man. Hey,
so
don't
no,
think it's big.
I am thankful for my time in the military. I had plenty of jobs I did not like. I had plenty of
Yeah.
paper pushing jobs that I couldn't stand.
If you genuinely if there was a 16, 17-year-old kid watching who didn't really know what they're doing with your future, would you genuinely recommend joining the military could be a great decision, or would you be like,
Yes, without doubt. The
There you go.
Air Force, now I'm biased
part.
because I came from the Air Force, but it's what you want to do. But the Air Force, in general, people will tell you the Air Force treats their people better. Not that you're treated bad. But the Air Force spends more money on their facilities because the Army's focused on their equipment. The Navy is definitely focused on their boats and ships. The Marines just like to blow stuff up, and we love Marines for that. Like the little side note, Marines. So Marines get in trouble a lot. You'll see this on the news. But I had a good buddy of mine a number of years ago tell me, he was an officer. He goes, we have to let them be a little crazy because they're the ones who we say kick down that door and you may get shot in the face, but you're still going to kick down the door. And they do it. So I love Marines. Let me emphasize, I love Marines more than any other service member. But it was funny when he told me that, I was like, okay, that makes sense why you keep seeing Marines getting in trouble for stupid stuff, because we usually try to organize their chaos and let them, they want to juggle chainsaws, that's fine. Just don't let anybody know that you're juggling chainsaws, right? Because they need them to want to kick down that door to do that, right?
I've heard
So-
that take on that before, that so in some branches of military, you just people are just crazy,
Right.
And but in reality, us over here in the safe part of the world,
Right.
we kind of need them to
need
be
them.
people that we don't want to be friends with, because we need that personality for people who are going and fighting and stuff.
But going back to the point, absolutely, I would recommend joining the military. It depends on what you want to do. I got a free education. My master's degree was entirely covered by the Air Force. All the medical, I have retirement pay now, and it was good, and that's behind me. And yes, I work for a Frisbee company, but it's crazy. But I'm blessed by God because I watched Foundation for a few years, and I watched Robbie C, and now I'm here, and it's still surreal every single day.
we only hire fans? If you're
So-
watching.
We also only hire ex-military.
Yeah. Hey, no, right now.
Starting now.
We need more. We need more. I think we need to get every branch.
Well, and also there's an obvious thing is that
Because Nate was Army, right?
Nate was Army,
Yeah.
a typical
Okay.
thing
I want a
is that-
Marine now.
We need a Marine. Now that way you have some fun. Get a Marine here.
I had one of the close encounters I had with military was with a former Navy SEAL who our head baseball coach. He was a very ambitious guy. Loved, like, if he saw a good idea around team building, he was going to implement it into us punk high school kids. And he brought a Navy SEAL out and basically had him torture us for an entire day to build morale. And I learned a lot that day. Not a lot of kids did. They just got hurt. But it was really intense. So maybe we might actually need a Navy SEAL as well.
Yeah,
we need them all.
It's funny because we have this picture, and I could see that guy doing that. But when I was at SOCAF Special Operations Command Africa, like we had all the forces, but like some Navy SEALs, you would look at these guys, you're like, that is definitely not a Navy SEAL, and then some you'd be like, oh yeah, I can see that. It's so interesting in the special operations world how some guys just look like special ops guys, and some who you never think it. Like, but that guy, some of they could outdo everything for you, but you would never think about it. 'Cause they're kind of small and light.
Well, the Navy SEAL thing, I feel like so much of it is in between the ears. Like you got to be able to just resist pain to get through buds and stuff like that.
Yes, it's the ability to get through the pain, and then even when it comes to their training, a lot of them will say it's like they have the athletic ability. Okay, that you got to have the athletic ability to handle the physical side and the mental side. But why they're so good at other stuff is because they just do it more. They train more and harder. Wow. They train at shooting. They train at all those things more. You already have to have the mental and physical to handle that, and then you train and train and train and train and train over and over and over. So. Yeah, it's cool. And I knew a couple Navy SEALs who literally hated swimming. He goes, no, after buds, he goes, I will happily jump over a puddle of water to avoid water because that's how much I hate water.
That is so
like, dude,
funny.
you're in the Navy SEALs.
Why did you join the Navy SEAls? Yeah, or the Navy at all.
It was funny whenever, because he was my cycling buddy in Germany, but it was funny for him to say, I will happily jump over a puddle of water to avoid water.
After hearing you talk about Air Force, I feel like that might be where it's at. But because the funny thing is, like, I feel like most... Like, if you don't know a lot about the military and you just kind of see what's put in front of you, like the Navy SEALs is very glorified, obviously, and like the Green Berets, like the Rangers, the special task forces and whatnot. Just because a lot of times that's where the motivational speakers come from, and the podcasters, if you will. But yeah, like a lot of people will probably think, well, I'm only going to join Air Force if I want to fly planes, but like that's not at all just like what they do. So
yeah, there's a ton. I mean. The Air Force is about flying planes, but you still have bases, so you still got to have the services. Somebody still got to run the gym. Somebody still got to run the hospital. Somebody still got to run the base network. Someone still got to make sure the roads are paved and the buildings are operating. So all those things are in the Air Force. So yeah, and there's a ton of pilots as well. I had bad eyes. I wanted to be a pilot, but I had bad eyes when I joined the Air Force. And then I actually I thought more than once to cross-train to becoming a navigator just so I could go fly. But then I couldn't get released from my career field. Because when I came into the Air Force, the IT career field was like a bathtub, we call it. It was like the bomb that they saw the future was cyber. And so they didn't have enough people, so they were just pulling everybody in. Because my degree was in English. I don't have an IT degree.
Did not know that.
But my degree was in English, and my minor's in art history. So,
how about that?
Liberal arts all the way. So liberal arts all the way, and so you never guessed
crazy.
That, right?
I would have bet so much money that you had some kind of cyber background. Like you're like, oh yeah, in college I loved programming stuff.
No, I still did. I learned Turbo Pascal in college because I was a math major to start.
Okay.
And then I realized I didn't like math. No, that's just what my scholarship was in.
Okay.
So I really don't like math. I could handle it. I wasn't great at it, but I could handle it, but I didn't like it. And so I switched degrees a couple of times, just landed on English because I could read and write pretty fast. Really, that was it. I'm being totally transparent there. I wasn't the best college student. Like I get that. Here's some transparency. I was on the dean's list my last 2 years, but my overall GPA was still a 2.97. So that's how bad my first couple of years were.
Work it up a little bit.
Yeah, I eventually straightened out. So that's why.
Dean's list, you got to be at 3.0, right? 3.0 and up, I think, are dean's list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to fight to get back.
You had
to
fight it out. Yeah.
But I knew I was going to join the Air Force. I knew I had a guaranteed job for 4 years. Another reason for Air Force ROTC, you're guaranteed a full paid job for 4 years. So I knew I was going to get that. And 24 years later, but now the Air Force is. The military is not bad.
Probably coolest logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like them.
Yeah. Way better football uniforms as well than Navy or Army. I'll just throw that out there.
Way better football teams until Air Force choked it up against Army this year.
That's a good
point. Was depressing.
Yeah.
Air Force lost to Army. I mean, Army got the Commander's Cup, which is great for them to get the Commander's Cup. So the Air Force, Army, and Navy, they have a thing called the Commander's Cup in college football. That whoever basically beats the other two teams gets to keep this trophy, and that's their biggest pride event of the year is the Commander's Cup, not going to a bowl game or anything else. And the Air Force choked it up against Army. It was
Everybody
terrible.
on the football team, like those are active service people.
They all go active duty. They have to because they're at the Air Force Academy, and they all will go active duty.
Something I remember, like the first thing I ever learned about like military schools playing football. My dad mentioned to me when I was younger. He's like, yeah, one of the struggles with like these military teams is their O lines and D lines can only be so big because these guys are active military. They can't just be 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, that's a great point.
Yeah. Because they still have to pass the same. I think they get some minor waivers for those guys now, but they can't maintain weight.
Yeah.
Because they're dropping weight so much because of how
PT
strict the life is at the military academy.
That
So that's
is
why
crazy.
you won't see a lot of, because you'll see some other specialty guys maybe get drafted or whatnot, but not the O-line. They just don't have it. That's also why they can't handle going up against a really big defensive line because they just don't have and vice versa. So
That's crazy.
David Robinson famously went to the Naval Academy. So
Yeah.
San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah,
if you guys know basketball.
yeah.
So.
I wish so badly that I
He
had.
went. Wait, where did he go to?
Naval Academy.
I would say he was nicknamed the Admiral, was he
Yep.
not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense now.
I wish so badly that I had like the like respect and awe for the military like whenever I was younger that I do now. Not that I didn't respect
Yeah,
it,
no,
but
I understand.
I wish I would have given it like thought.
Yeah.
Because like there's a lot
a lot
of
of
things.
it's family related. Some like having
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, I agree.
my grandfather was in the Army, and my my uncle was in the Navy, but yeah, it wasn't anyone super.
I didn't have any. The closest thing I really have is my great grandfather, who I knew for a little bit. He flew planes in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And so like whenever we had his funeral, like there were soldiers there shooting.
It's really cool.
The rifles
Yeah.
and that was crazy to me as a little kid. I was like, why are we shooting guns at this?
My
funeral?
grandpa did my grandpa never saw any any combat or anything. He ran radio towers.
Oh, cool.
But he was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I always respected him a lot. Like I loved my grandpa a lot. But I would ask him about stories and stuff like that. That was like one of my favorite things to do was to talk to him and just ask him about stories of his life, not necessarily just being in the Army, but just in general.
It's pretty insane when you think about the generations that came before us. Like, not many generations have avoided war.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of them like having to serve as well. Like, just get straight up getting drafted.
Yep.
And like our parents, because like our grandparents, a lot of them were involved in Vietnam, and maybe just slightly older. But like our parents were kind of the first ones who like probably aren't going to at this point are just not going to, like, they're old enough
Right.
they wouldn't get
They're
drafted.
not
Yeah.
getting drafted.
I think it's between like 18 to 35 is like your selective service age. And so like they're the first ones in a while, I guess. That's not even really a culture around their life is war. Hopefully we make it.
Yeah. Hopefully it all stays good.
Yeah, I'm in that range. Selective service. What are the exemptions for selective service, like beyond health? Like I don't even
Red
really know
hair.
anything about it. What?
red hair.
Red hair?
It's too visible.
Yeah. I don't even.
I don't even know. I mean,
I got my letter.
any medical issues you would have, like, it's basically physical issues that would keep you out.
Yeah,
Like, you
I didn't
couldn't
know
handle
if-
the physical, like knee issues or back issues or color blindness will keep most people
But
out
like,
too. So
and obviously, like when a war breaks out, if they had to draft, because like I think we have a ton of soldiers, so I don't even know what it would take to get to that point. Or is that not
the
true?
recruiting numbers are going lower and lower.
Are they?
unfortunately.
Okay,
Even
so
before I
maybe-
got out, the numbers
Wow.
were getting lower because it's a different generation. People don't want to go get yelled at for
It's true.
years. If you go enlisted, you're going to get basically
Well, here
yelled at.
I
You're
hear.
at the bottom
I
of
heard
the
a
chain.
conspiracy theory, Jason. Let me
Okay,
hear-
I love Trevor's conspiracy
Let me
theories.
get. Let me get your opinion on this.
Okay.
I heard that the U.S. government, the reason that they are potentially sabotaging their own economy is because they want soldiers. And if the economy is bad enough, and like you said, military is a great career option. It really is. That's where our
really
tax
is.
dollars go. If you get out of high school and you've got nothing else to do, there's the military right there for you. And so if the economy is looking grim enough and you've got no prospects, so that could be, and they're like, hey, we need more soldiers. There's going to be a war. I heard that the other day. What do you think
Where'd
about
you hear that
Could
from,
I-
Trev?
Huh? Same place Brody hears all his info.
Can I
TikTok.
believe the
TikTok.
Illuminati?
I
are
said it was a
doing that? Yeah.
conspiracy.
You never know. Like it if you walk that dog or pull that string enough, it'll probably come to a positive resolution, right? It's
Confirmed.
possible, right? I've never heard that.
There's very few government conspiracies that I hear, and I'm like, that's not possible.
Yeah,
right, exactly. And like, if it happened, I'd be like, that doesn't
especially
surprise
ones
me,
that are that.
Guess what? The
simple.
government isn't full of great people.
Yeah, especially something like that that's so simple. It's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, if the government wanted to increase their soldiers, like they'd find a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you imagine though, like in today's society, whenever there was drafts before, like I think people just kind of accepted. Well, I don't know. I wasn't around. I'm not even gonna say anything about that. But if there was a draft today, first of all, I don't even know would the government even have the goal to do it, like knowing the backlash they would get. But like there was so many people, like if it happened, if I heard that there was a draft happening because we were that in need of soldiers, I feel like I would be like, you know what, this is I got to fight for my country. Like that is what it is.
Yeah.
But there are so many people like in today's generation that would freak out over that.
Well, I don't know if they'd want those people.
Your name gets called, man. That's like. It's just insane.
It would be. Depends on, honestly, without getting political, depends on who's president would dictate, how many people are jumping in line or not.
Or even like if the president would be willing to do that,
right?
Yeah.
It would be tough, and it would be chaos for sure. So.
Yeah, because so many people would just be like I just wouldn't go. Like you have to be dragging people out of their homes.
Yeah. I didn't try to push my kids into it, but I kept trying to get the option open for them to go to the military, but they never had any desire. And my wife is very happy that they didn't want to go in the military, right? But I was fully supportive of that, but they had no desire to go do anything in the military. Which my dad was in the Air Force, and then he separated after 9 years, but then he went at Air National Guard and was shooting. And that he retired as an E8, which is like the second highest enlisted rank in the Guard. So
what's a crazy military branch? Coast Guard.
Yep.
Those guys are nuts, man. I saw another video the other day of this. There's this giant carrier out in the ocean carrying yachts, and it's getting bodied by these huge waves. And this guy has to jump off the boat, and you got Coast Guard rappelling down with that helicopter hover, and they're rappelling down to grab this guy and fish him out of there. Like you talk about not being fond of water.
Yeah.
If like you're gonna maybe have to go into these boats that are getting flooded or like sinking and drag people out of there. Oh man, in just huge storms in the big vast ocean. Yeah. That is not for the lighthearted.
Yeah, and there's another special crew there, the Coast Guard. So you gotta really love water, as you just said, Trevor, to be in the Coast Guard.
Space Force. That's maybe where it's at.
Space Force is interesting. I could have transferred to the Space Force.
Real thing.
The Space Force is real now, right? They created it. It was just being created when I left, and I could have transferred to the Space Force and stayed on a few more years.
You had to think about it.
Yeah.
Space Force.
I was ready for the break, to be fully honest.
If you were a little younger in your
break.
career?
Oh yeah, if I was younger, for sure.
Dude, Space Force? That's sick.
Because it's space. I did a space tour for 3 years, and when I was in Colorado Springs, I was at a 4th Space Operations Squadron. We used to call it FORSOPS.
Huh?
FORSOPS.
What is
this? And so they take care of the Milstar satellite system. So we have 5. It's EHF, enhanced extra high frequency, enhanced high frequency, basically radio waves, right? But it's our communication satellite. So it's the system.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
And then advanced EHF took over. I don't think it's EHF. Anyway, so I worked there for 3 years, and so got to love space life. So it's a bunch of dudes sitting in a windowless building, and like we even had that base was locked down, so we had portals you had to go through that they had stopped. We had to go through, swipe our badge, do a code, and for a while they had a retinal scanner there. You had to put your eye down. They stopped that before I got there because pink eye kept breaking out. So I'm not kidding. So they stopped the retinal scanner, but no kidding. But then it was weight based, so if it would weigh you when you walked in.
If everybody could remember to stop farting on the retinal scanner.
It would weigh you when you walked in, and if you walked out with something heavier, it would stop you and ask, "Hey, are you carrying something extra?"
I ate a sub. So. It was a big sub. That is crazy.
And then
I took a dump while I was in there.
Yeah.
And then we had to do the same, and it was one of the cool. It was like a touchpad, but the numbers changed every time you'd swipe it, and the numbers would change, so that no one behind you could see what your code was.
That's so cool.
It was, and then in our actual room where our squadron operations were located. It was the same way for the door, but it tracked everybody's movement all the time. So you couldn't open the door and tailgate and let people in. You literally had to swipe, close it, swipe, close it. Wow. So you could sometimes have 10 people trying to get in and 5 people trying to get out. These are the first world problems we're talking about. Like that technology is cool until everyone's trying to get in or get out at the exact same time. You're like, because you had to do the code every time.
Dang.
So
Mission Impossible.
it was interesting though. Like I've when I start telling these stories to think about, I'm like, I've done a lot of wide variety of things. So
I would love
Yeah.
to know what Space Force is up to, and also I'd love to know, like, in my lifetime, am I ever going to see conflict in space?
Yes.
Because
yes,
you think I will?
100%.
Like two ships in space, fighting each other is what I mean.
5 letters, CHINA. China, they're already prepping for. This is all you can go look on the internet.
What are we fighting
Way.
for in space, though?
They're all
Just position?
They are creating spaceports to be hubs for like supply runs and stuff. So
That's
China's doing that
crazy,
right
dude.
now, and China
Wow.
is already militarizing. It's not space hasn't officially been militarized
Star
yet,
Wars.
but it's China. They are pushing hard to militarize.
And there's no
space.
territory in
Wow.
space.
Correct. They're trying to figure that out. So
It's pirate waters out there.
so yes, I will be shocked if you live the normal life to 80 or 90 years. You're going to see combat in space.
Where were you when the
So,
Battle of the Moon happened? Yes.
That's crazy.
whatever it may be light level combat, but it's going to happen. So
That's crazy.
it's crazy, right?
We are
Yeah.
living Star Wars.
Whenever
I just want to see. I want to see us go. I love space, and NASA are a bunch of liars. They said we're gonna be back to the moon. I think by now, they're planning on going to the moon again, and I want to see it so bad. I love that stuff. I love space. I think space is so cool. I think I watched Interstellar like a week ago, so that just got me fired up again. I think space rocks.
That is crazy. How am I supposed to finish this podcast and then go back to editing a video of the Simon Lizotte Pixel versus the Eagle McMahon Envy and feel like I have any purpose?
You bring
When there's people out there protecting the world.
We got to bring joy to the.
You're
people,
bringing
man.
joy.
We help morale so that when the draft comes along, they're more willing to serve.
Yeah. and after they're drafted, they have something good to watch, and it's called
That's right.
Foundation, right?
Hey, that's
Bring them
true.
joy and happiness at night.
That's right. Yep. we are necessary.
Let's start
Yeah.
doing
Every day.
Let's start doing
do
like some Navy SEALs workouts every day.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
required.
Go ahead and find the biggest log outside you can and just hold it above your head until you cry. And
Yeah.
that was basically what it was like.
And then keep
Okay.
holding it longer.
yeah, and then he's gonna tell you you're not done yet.
Right. And then,
I-
when you can't hold it any longer, you're going to hold it longer.
I've
So
never
it's just-
been pushed that hard in my life. There was one we did. We had these, huge logs, and there would be a group of us. We started with the log laying across our chest, like a line of like 5 of us.
Yeah.
And you started with a sit up,
Yeah.
rolled it off you. Then you had to roll it a certain distance, and then get back under it, do
my
another
gosh.
sit up, like roll. Holy cow, dude! It was
That
crazy.
sucks.
We also had to run. We did one where the whole group of us, we had to spread out all these really heavy sandbags amongst us, and all the sandbags had to make it 4 miles. So it was
Oh
just
my
like we had to just
gosh.
pass them around and like get a 4 mile. Yeah,
Oh my god.
we just played high school baseball.
I'm about to say that's pretty hardcore for a high
That's
school baseball
crazy.
team. So
Hey, we learned a lot though. Guys made names for themselves out there that day. All right,
What name did you make for yourself out there that day?
team captain
Wow.
wow, love that flex.
in high school baseball. Yeah, Jason, I don't know about you and what you did, but I was team captain of my baseball team. Yeah. So how about that?
At the moment, it was very important and exciting. So
Yeah, I guess. Here we go. I was like the only one who just followed the respected authorities. So that's what happened. Here we go. What are we thinking here? What are we gonna get today?
I don't know.
Jason again.
Jason!
Unstoppable
Oh, no.
force meets an
Okay.
immovable
Good, I'm not done
object. It's gonna be
listening.
me. It has to be me. Hunter.
Big
Okay.
Hunt.
Hunter, oh wow,
Okay.
Big
There you
Jason,
go.
Big Hunt.
The military talk switches out for the running talk.
Hey, I'll do that all day. Hey, I need to do one more thing. Last time I was on the Banter was actually my daughter's birthday, and I didn't wish her happy birthday.
Oh,
She's the only person in my family that actually listens to the things I'm on. No one else listens to anything.
Gosh, Jason.
Happy belated birthday, Hannah.
Happy
Love you.
birthday, Hannah.
Happy birthday.
Sorry about that.
Happy. That's
Okay,
enough.
that's sorry about that.